ABC. Always be closing. I'm sure many of you who are my age in our 50s, perhaps 40s, or perhaps fledgling salesmen or women, you've seen the movie Glengarry Glen Ross and the famous ABC Always Be Closing scene with Alec Baldwin. He was the he was the sales trainer who came in to whip the sales team into shape. Oh man, such a great scene. But what does that mean? Always be closing, and how do we do that? And I think in the whole digital marketing space, that old school sales tactic of always be closing gets lost, and we can bring that sales tactic or that mindset into the digital marketing arena. And that's what this episode is going to be all about.
You know when someone is selling from stage and at the end the audience gets up and rushes to the back of the room to buy? That's a table rush. My name is Misha Z, and the Table Rush Talk Show is all about bringing you the tools, strategies, and tactics that you can use to grow your audience and inspire them to buy.
Man, I did a lot of sales over the years as a salesman and worked with amazing salespeople, men and women. I'm just thinking, as I'm talking here, definitely a ton of successful saleswomen. I was in mortgages for a good chunk of my sales career, and tons of the top mortgage professionals were women who were just really good at the business. It was crazy. And then tons of, in the escrow and title side of things, just the whole real estate ecosystem, including realtors, lots and lots of successful women. I was also in tech sales for a few years. This was back in the 2000s, literally 2000. It's so funny to think that that's 20 some years ago. But in the 2000s, the dot-com boom, so I was in tech sales late 90s, early 2000s, and heavy male dominated, but still successful women. And then I was in financial sales before that, and it was heavy male dominated. Oh my gosh, you would have your random superstar woman, but in the financial services side of things, very male dominated. So I was mid to late 90s financial sales, late 90s to 2001, mid to late 2001 tech sales, and then mortgage sales. And I just say that because lots of it was face-to-face networking. So you're either walking into places, walking into companies, asking to speak to the, CEO, CTO, the GM, the general manager, the CIO, chief information officer. But you're starting conversations and always be closing. So I want to make sure that I'm talking about always be closing. And really, this is about conversations. How do we have conversations with people? And how are we always closing? So, the bulk of my sales was mortgages. I talk about this a lot. Tons of telemarketing. So I was on the phones all the time, and all my sales career, financial services, telemarketing, boiler room, basically. Boiler room, full-on boiler room telemarketing. We were grinding the phones. And then the tech sales was door to door, business to business, walking into businesses and telemarketing. And then mortgages was telemarketing galore, building telemarketing teams. That's what I did. I was building teams, running those teams for myself. Flyers, lots of flyer campaigns to get the phones to ring. So searching data, getting the phones to ring. And then also, and all of that, all of those arenas, you're going to networking events, you're selling, you're looking for partners, you're looking for partners, you're looking for people to leverage relationships. And so always be closing applies to all of that. It applies to if you're speaking directly to somebody, telemarketing, or the phone rings and you pick up the phone and you're selling your literal service to that person or the buyer of a business at, the decision maker at a business. So if it's B2B sales, business to business, B2C, business to consumer is the other term there. But in networking, you're qualifying somebody to see if they're a good fit to partner with. So when I hear ABC, always be closing, what that means is you're continually qualifying. It should say always be qualifying. I like that better. ABQ, always be qualifying the person, prospect, networking partner that you're talking to. And basically, you're trying to figure out if they're a good fit, if this person or this business is a good fit. And so you start broader and then you keep narrowing down till it's a yes or a no. And you know yourself, do you want to work with or partner with this person? Or, do they need you? And so always be closing. So you're strategically leading the conversation in a way that's going to get to that answer. Now me, all these sales that I've been in, I've been super passionate and love the businesses and was all in. And so it was very authentic to me, right? It was always out of pure interest. That's one of my gifts. Like I'm truly interested, right? So when I was in mortgages, I'd go to a party. Hold on, before I get into that, I do want to say, so how do we bring that over into the digital marketing space? We need to bring that over into the digital marketing space. So in our marketing, in our digital marketing, as we're putting funnels out there, as we're putting landing pages out there, as we're guiding people to opt in and buy our stuff, is the pre-qualification process happening? Is the always be closing mindset, is it showing in our social media, digital media landscape, how we're putting ourselves out there, whether we're doing lives, whether we have a website, whether we're doing posts? Like, I would challenge you to think about all the content you put out there. Is it qualifying your person? Is it narrowing them down to yes or no and moving them forward? And I think that's the fatal flaw I see in most people's websites and most people's landing pages and most people's offerings on the internet, on the web, interweb, is that it's like there's nothing pushing the person forward oftentimes. And so it's great to have a vanity page that's basically a brochure and to paint the picture of yourself. This is what I do, this is who I serve, this kind of a thing. But is it strategically helping the person move to each next step? And that's actually what I love about Russell Brunson and his ClickFunnels, because everything's so strategic and pushing you to a yes or a no. And so I'd challenge you to think about that. as you're putting yourself out there, are you qualifying your audience to get them to a yes or a no? And I think that can help you a lot. And I'll give you an example. In the mortgage days, I would go to a party, I was in my, 30s and 40s and so what do? I'm a mortgage guy, right? Oh, I'm a mortgage banker, a mortgage loan officer, or a loan officer, or whatever. And then someone says, "Oh, that's great. What's your rate?" Was always the question. If somebody had a house, or a loan, they'd say, "What's your rate?" And actually, this is great that I'm talking this out with you. Is that we don't tell them what the rate is right away. You don't give away the ghost right away. So if someone asks me, what's the rate? I say, oh, that's such a great question. Do you own a house or are you looking to buy? Notice I haven't told them the rate. And they say, oh, well, neither. I don't have a job, blah, 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 blah. You'd say, oh, rates are all over the place. It kind of depends on what you're doing. So there you go. You pre-qualified somebody out of your funnel and you didn't have to tell them the rate. You didn't have to tell them the price. Right? And so if someone goes, oh, I own a house. Oh, great. Well, do you have a loan on it? Yes, I do. Awesome. Oh, so it sounds like you're looking to refinance potentially. Yes, I am. Or maybe they just want vanity to know that their rate's currently the best. And they'll say, oh, I just refied it, 4%. And if I intuitively know or that I'm not going to do it much better than that, I say, oh, it sounds like you're well taken care of. 4% is great. Notice again, you haven't given your price. You haven't given away the ghost. But they say, oh, yeah, my rate's, 5% and I've been thinking about refining. Oh, awesome. And you say, well, what do you think your house is worth? Then they tell you what your house is worth. And then you say, oh, well, what's your current loan amount? They tell you what your current loan amount is. And then if you're good at loans, you know if they meet the qualification parameters of loan to value. And you say, oh, great, that's good. Yeah, it sounds like you might qualify based on a loan to value. And they say, what's your rate? And you say, oh, that's still a great question. We're getting there. Let me just ask you a couple more questions, okay? And they'll say yes. And then you walk them through the income questions. Still looks like it's good. Then you say, great, got a few more questions. And anywhere along the line, so you need another income, their credit, their assets, all these things. And then at the end, if they qualify, you've pre-qualified them and you've always been closing and you've walked them through a natural conversation or progression, bam, you tell them what the rate is. And there's a great chance you'll have yourself a client. So you can do the same thing when you're networking with somebody at an event. So let's say you go to I'm going to Funnel Hacking Live 2023, come up in September. And I've built this community. I'm building this community, the Influence Army, for heart-centered entrepreneurs who are ready to bring their message to market in a big way. And so they can scale their impact, their authority, their income, all without spending any money on Facebook ads. Anyway, I won't give you the full pitch, but I have a successful offer in this arena. People are paying to join the membership, and so I'm going to be going to Funnel Hacking Live to look for partners, for people who have lists built where my community will help their people, right? So I'm looking for a natural fit of people who have a list so I can partner with them and we can bring people into the fold. And so it's a win-win for everybody. It'll be a win for me because I'll get to serve how I love to serve. teaching people how to go on an influence tour, build their influence, get on podcasts, do all this stuff. The partner, there's so many people out there who are teaching people how to grow their businesses. They're copywriters, marketers, funnel builders, storytellers, all this stuff in the ecosystem, helping entrepreneurs be entrepreneurs. But they're missing the key thing that I can bring, helping people build their business organically in a strategic way, get their word out, right? And so, as I'm talking to people, right, there's a certain profile I'm looking for. Not too big of a list. Don't want them to have too big of a list, but it can't be too small, right? So I'll start saying, first question I'm going to know is, who's your audience? Right? Who's your audience? And I'm going to say, gosh, how often do you put your content out? How do you do it? I'll start asking all these key questions, and we'll be having natural, fun conversations. And I will ABC always be closing. I'll be pre-qualifying the person. And if it turns out we're a great fit to help each other, I'll help serve their audience. It'll be great for me because it'll be revenue opportunities for me, and it'll be great for them because they, for this partner, because they get to serve their audience and add value in a big way. And for me, currently, the best opportunities are going to be people that they see my vision and they see how it's going to help them so clearly, help their audience so clearly that they just want to bring me in to serve their audience. They don't need revenue sharing or anything like that when you start getting into the bigger lists, right? It's literally going to be, hey, we can share our list with each other and we can serve. So we'll look for opportunities. I'll be looking for opportunities where they can teach to my audience, I can teach to their audience, I can send an email to their list, they can send an email to my list, these kinds of things. Right? Does that make sense? I hope this has added value. And as I've gone through this, I was thinking about, it doesn't matter. I'll let you get back to your day. But anyway, actually not quite done yet. Our funnels need to do this too. So our funnels, we don't want to give away the price right away necessarily, or we don't want to, we want to build interest and let someone, by the time it gets to what my offer is, that they know. So the landing page or your website or whatever, you're creating engagement, encouraging the right people to filter down to the buy or to the filter down to the I'm interested. And you wanted to do that strategically. So when your right person comes in, it moves them through naturally, quickly, efficiently, effectively, so that they're like, yes, you're my guy, if that makes sense. Anyway, this has gone on longer than I anticipated. Lastly, I'll say that I'm going through my notes on podcast episodes I wanted to create, and this was one of them, and it was from February of 2022. I had in my notes, do a riff on ABC, always be closing, and there it is. There's my riff on always be closing. I think I like better always be qualifying. Anyway, have a good day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.